Hello, I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and in this episode, I want to talk about the notion of comparative suffering. So, what does comparative suffering mean? Well, it's any time, as the name implies, that you compare suffering, and in particular, most oftentimes, it's your suffering to somebody else's. It becomes a judgment value, and it's to say like, oh, well, this and this is happening to me, therefore like I'm in much more pain than you. Or vice versa, where you're suffering, like, okay, let's say you're dealing with a relationship breakup, but it's like you say to yourself, well, it's not it could be worse, like I could be living in a third world country with no water, and it's like that's not good either, right? The reason why comparative suffering is not good is because like both can be true, and like just because like it's never a good exercise to essentially value the pain of anything, because it either puts you, oftentimes like from an egocentric standpoint, it either puts us above somebody else. It's like, well, I'm hurting far more than you and whatever else, and you don't care about me, and it just makes us blow up and reactionary in ways that we don't want to be. And conversely, this is also an ego thing where we think like, oh, we're not deserving. It kind of, this imposter syndrome falls into this category where it's like, oh well, my problems don't matter and whatever else. And I know it almost sounds like. It almost sounds like it wouldn't be an area of the ego, but it is an area of the ego nonetheless. But the overall point being that how does either benefit you ultimately? Because it doesn't. The idea that, oh, all of a sudden, just because like there's worse things in the world that negates you, and or comparatively like you being, it's a, who wins, right? There's no benefit to this. There's kind of this quote, right? Kind of, gratitude in a lot of ways is a kind of a solution for a lot of this, right? When people talk about suffering and so forth, you can't suffer and be grateful. And there's a great, I'm going to read the definition of gratitude that I think really applies in this instance, where gratitude is being thankful for your blessings, not pretending that your struggles don't exist. I think this is very true, because I used to think like, people that were basically, that seemed unconditionally happy, I was like, oh, well, their life is easy breezy. They don't know what I've been through. And it's like, no, happiness is a choice, and it comes from gratitude. And I think like, there's an acceptance of like, okay, yeah, I suffer at times and other people suffer at times, and both are valid. We should never have that point of comparison, because then no one's helping anyone, right? If we just get to like the idea that, okay, I'm going to work on the things that I'm suffering from first. It's almost, it's the put on the oxygen mask for yourself first, then help others. So like if I'm suffering in a moment, it's like, okay, let me do what I can to put myself in a better state, and then I can help other people with their suffering. But you're never going to be, if all you're doing is like doing this value judgment, you can't get to that point, right? Because it makes you inactive. It makes you active in a useless way. So really kind of think about that, and I think oftentimes, one of the things that gets us in trouble is we might not be doing the comparative suffering, but other people might do it to us. And, the fact of the matter is I don't necessarily have like a full solution just yet, like in terms of how to, I think when people say like, oh, you don't care about my problems, like I think like for me, I know it gets to me at times of like, well, of course I do. And it pains me that other people wouldn't see it in that way. So the only kind of thing that I can offer you in terms of that, at least right now, is the idea that you just you as much as you can acknowledge their pain, and you say like, hey, listen, I'm not negating your pain in any way, shape, or form. Just because I may not be reacting in a way that you wish I was reacting, it doesn't mean I don't care. And kind of also get them to talk more if you want. Like yeah, I think a lot of things in life come down to the breakdown of communication. And so if you encourage them to say like, hey, like I'm not negating what you are feeling in any way, shape, but clearly I'm not having the desired response you want. So like, please, let me know, continue to explain, because there's something that I'm failing to see that that you want me to truly understand about what is happening in your life. I would encourage you to let that be a start. Again, this is the part of the equation that I'm still working out for myself, so I don't have all the answers. But I think start with you, and then you can kind of extract it to the greater world. To that point, if you have suggestions of your own on that notion, for how to deal with when people try to use comparative suffering against you, please let me know. And conversely, if you have just questions in general, please write them down, whether in the comment section down below or hit me up on social media. I love to discuss ideas such as this. So please, let's keep the conversation going. I'm sure I will learn from you if you do so. Even if you just ask a question, like I learn so much from questions in and of themselves, because then it forces me to think deeper about stuff that I might have overlooked. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. I hope it has been beneficial, and I would encourage you, if you have someone in your life that you think would benefit from this message, please share it with them as well. It would certainly mean a lot to me, and if you appreciate what I'm talking about here, then I would encourage you to also subscribe, that we get the various lessons that I put out right when I put them out. Anyway, I've taken up enough of your time. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. I hope to see you next time.